Welcome back to Marty's Vice. This afternoon I'm tying a Sparkle RS2. The timing couldn't be better. This is the start of our bluing olive season up on the Thompson and the Pooter and various places, and we all know how good the RS2 is. Adding a little bit of sparkle to the tails and the wings, proven to move some fish, and you should have this one in your box as well. I'm tying this on a size 18 hook, Dai Riki 060. You should also carry these in 20s, 22s. The thread, I'm using Uni 8/0. Any fine thread will do. Griffiths 14/0 or UTC 70 denier. The tail material is FluoroFiber. I'm going to have one long strand of this. Now this strand is 10-12 inches long, but we're going to make that work for us. Stick a little bit out the front, just enough for one side of a tail. Give your thread just a little bit of spin. Easier to do this if you keep it round. And I'm going to tie it in on the top. And with my left hand I'm holding that strand up on top of the hook. But before I get to the bend, I'm going to fold back the short one and lay it right next to it. Now when I get to the bend of the hook, I'm going to slide my thread under both of those. And now I'm going to use this long one, pull it towards me, which will help me come up between those threads, and watch what happens when I pull it forward. You get a nice wide divided tail out of that. When you trim it, make sure you trim it longer than the shank length. For some reason this one seems to work better, or certainly fishes well enough when the tails are a good shank and a half. Now I'm going to move my thread up until it's maybe half an eye length behind the eye. We get some superfine dubbing, Adam's gray. Other colors work as well. Gray olive is a favorite of mine. Dark olives. Now, very sparse dubbing. And what you do is you get it spread out on your thread first, and then dub very, very tightly. By using a small amount and a thin dubbing needle, I can get away with 2 layers here. I'm going to go from front back to the tail, slide one underneath, and that will kind of lock it into place. Now I'm ending right where I started the thread, which should leave me just the right amount on the front for the wing. Now we used to tie this wing with Lagerton mini flat braid, but that stuff's impossible to find anymore, so we're going to use Glamour Madiera, which you may remember from the Dorsey's Top Secret nymph. Easy enough to tie in when it's fresh and all the separate fibers are together, but by the time you get to your 4th or 5th fly, they're all going to be divided. No problem. Just stroke them together. Cut them off very square. And don't make these wraps too tight. Just lay about 3 of them right next to each other so you can slide this. Not so that it gets under the thread, just so that it gets behind the eye. Now you can make some more turns to bind it down and make all those stubs disappear. Back to the superfine dubbing. And there's a reason I haven't trimmed that wing yet. I'm going to use that length for a handle, because I'm going to make a few wraps in front, then I'm going to lift it up and make a few wraps behind it. And if I have enough, I can actually start to build a little bit of a taper. I don't think the taper is that important. I think being skinny is more important. Almost finished. That whip finish is nice and tight down against the hooks, not really binding anything down, so I trust a couple of whip finishes. I don't bother with head cement on this one. Now to cut this square, go ahead and set your scissors right against the hook, get everything square, cut it about half the length of the body. There you have it, Sparkle RS2.